Hello, everyone. This is Bentley, and as you can tell, I'm in my editing slash live streaming space and not where I would normally be. But I I've been so busy at work, I kind of have to rush the filming of this. I have some B-roll that's going to come up shortly. I got to go visit my friend Darren of Rogue Aquariums, and I interviewed him recently. That's going to come up in the corner. He's a saltwater guy, but he used to be a freshwater guy, and loves rainbow fish. So that's how we know each other. We met at an event locally here, and he's a kind of passive rainbow fish fan. If he weren't in the saltwater, his massive 600-gallon aquarium would be rainbow fish, but he's a saltwater guy, so it's a beautiful reef tank that he's been very slowly and patiently working on. He's doing it right. He's taking his time, slowly introducing things to make sure it's healthy, it's right, and that everything there looks great. Okay, Bentley, why does that matter? And this video will be kind of a ramble. I'm going to warn you ahead of time. So for those of you who don't like those, we'll get the B-roll shortly, and then you can peace out or whatever. But while I was there, Darren was having a brand new sump installed on his big 600-gallon aquarium. And it should be noted that he has 3 tanks that are all custom built by Clear Fabrications. And that's Jason. He's the guy that built Corey's 800-gallon tank. That's probably the most famous tank that folks will know as far as the YouTube community is concerned. So I got an opportunity to meet him. I've talked to him a couple times on the internet before, but not in person. And I spent like 6 hours there, and I did a little bit more than just like stand around and talk, but for the most part, I stood around and talked. I was there to visit a friend. I hadn't seen him in a long time, and his old sump I was buying off of him because he made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And I was there to talk to Jason to see if there was something I could do to that sump to make it fit some other purpose. And we get to talking, and I get to truly appreciate, beyond what I've seen of his work, the person, the craftsman that he is. See, I grew up in doing a lot of things, but one of the biggest things I did was I spent a lot of time around my father, who's built classic and hot rods and muscle cars forever. He's lots of hand-done metalwork and meticulous craftsmanship. And my dad loves what he does. He still works day to day on classics and hot rods, and he's in his 70s. And not to throw shade at my dad, he's pretty spry for his age, but just, that's a man who loves what he does and is still doing it because he loves it. He is a master at what he does, an absolute craftsman. His brother, my uncle, whom I've shown a picture when I was a baby of him holding me, but he's similar. He used to paint planes for Boeing. He's retired now, but he also worked on cars, and they're just craftsmen. They love what they do, and they do it a lot of times because they love it. And yeah, it's rewarding for what they do, but still, they love what they do. My uncle on my mom's side, my Uncle Bruce, he's a cabinet maker. He's a woodworker. He's built all this incredible custom furniture for my aunt, his wife. And I have been so fortunate as a young child and young man to grow up around these craftsmen, these people who are not only very skilled at what they do, but love what they do and have a passion for what they do. So you see it. It's tangible. It's there. And talking to Jason while I was at Darren's house, it was a euphoria. Because I could feel that. I could feel that same passion and love. And beyond just him stating, I'm to a point now where I can take custom-built tanks because they're people that will appreciate them and the work I can give them, and not because it's just somebody who wants a big tank. I don't have to take a job if I feel that person won't truly appreciate what they're going to have in the end. And like, what a cool feeling it was to like not only really get that feeling, but talk to him and pick his brain some, because he talked to me about some of how he got started, his inspiration, how he learned not to run a business from some people, and like how he learned to minimize his waste with his products. He works out of a smaller space than he probably could, but because that way he can not only lower his own overhead, but he can pass on that savings and make really affordable for what he does tanks. This guy has built nearly 2,500 tanks at the time of filming this. He's had 0 break. None of them. In 20 years of doing this, 2,500 tanks, none of them have gone bad. And he told me there's a lot of things he does, like some examples that when you're working with acrylic, most people use commercial compounds like Weld-On 3 or something. He doesn't use that. He has his own custom blend of polymers and stuff that he uses to do that welding, right, of the acrylic, because when you glue acrylic, it kind of fuses the acrylic together. It doesn't necessarily glue. It's not like silicone on glass, right? It's fusing the acrylic, turning 2 pieces of acrylic into one. But he has his own custom mix he uses because it is a better bond. It does a lot of other things, and I won't get into some of the vague details he gave me because I don't want to, at any way, shape, or form, spoil his personal industry secret, right? He talked about how he does a ton of his work by hand because hand polishing things prevents heat stress. And when you like flame, the common thing with most acrylic tanks is you'll flame polish them, right? And you'll see a lot of people like, oh, we flame polish because it makes it look prettier. But that heat introduces all sorts of stresses that long-term make the tank more fragile and make your tank not last as long, be more likely to craze, be more susceptible to breaks and seam ruptures and all this kind of stuff. Well, he doesn't do it because he wants his tanks to last 20, 25, 30 years. He wants, when he builds a tank for you, he wants it to be forever. And like just that willingness to do all this extra detail, like, so I'm there, right? I got to tell the story. We'll have some B-roll coming up here so you can see some of the stuff in Darren's fish tank, but I couldn't get a lot because there's constant working and I didn't want to get in the way with my camera, and we got a garage open, so there's a lot of glare coming in from the sun and stuff, but they're putting in this brand new sump, and it is built absolutely perfect for its job. It's going on the 600-gallon reef tank. Has all these chambers and all these custom cut like flush fit lids that like the chamber that holds his skimmer. The lid that goes over that part of the chamber has holes cut in it so that the skimmer comes out of the lid, right, for the top that's elevated. This is a big skimmer. And it has just like a few centimeters around the outsides of each of these lips, right, that basically perfectly fit this skimmer, so that there's the skimmer and then a few centimeters, and then there's the lid and its rim, right, where its hole is cut on this flush fit lid. And just everything he does is so calculated and perfect. I mean, it's incredible to see that kind of craftsmanship in a guy who just builds fish tanks. And I was talking to him about some of his inspirations, and like the guy who taught him how to weld all of his metal stands that he builds for his tanks. He hand welds them himself. It's just, there's so much care and attention to detail, and some of the things that I learned about the person who got him going, taught him to weld, things like that. Just his story's great. He had an interview with Randy Reed at the Aquarist podcast. By all means, go listen to it. It's great. But just kind of getting a peek behind the curtain of a guy who not only probably builds like some of the best, if not the best acrylic tanks in the United States, but is just somebody who loves his craft so much that he's willing to kind of sacrifice his ability to make more money to make sure that things get in the hands of people who will cherish them like they're a family heirloom. And like we don't see that much these days. And it just, you know, every little story he's telling me, and like little things that he does and his process and a lot of this stuff, and he left out certain stuff to make it so it's impossible. And it, like, clearly I'm not going to go build tanks, but he was trying to be careful, because I asked him at one point, I was like, why isn't your story on YouTube? It's like, well, I did the interview with the Aquarist podcast, but other than that, like, I don't want people to catch on to my secrets. They're mine. And I was like, all right, I respect that, right? But just talking to him and getting to watch this guy work as he's like fitting this sump and plumbing it and all this stuff, and he's talking, and he's like, yeah, I should go bug Corey and try and get him to upgrade his tank, because the biggest tank that he can build is 1,550 gallons in his current shop. And he joked that the only way he would change from his current shop is that he'd have to build his own like several $100,000 building to build it exactly the way he wants, engineered perfectly to do what he needs to do. This is the kind of guy that he is. And it was just a blast getting to talk to a guy who really appreciates fish and really wants to see that the people who get the things that he's building cherish them, appreciate them, are going to love them for the rest of their lives, potentially, right? It's just one of those things where seeing that, and like when he talks about some of his like favorite builds he's done, or just, you know, why he does work for certain people, and seeing that little, like, that spark of that passion and understanding that, like, this is what makes a customer for me great, is that person who really loves it. And we've talked back and forth a little bit. Eventually I'll have some tanks built by him. Yeah. I might have spoiled the tanks. I said tanks. Uh-oh. But he did joke that when I was going to get the 1,550 gallon that he can build. I was like, hey, man, I can't afford the ludicrous amount of money I'm sure that costs. He's like, oh, it's quite a lot. But, you know, it was just, I kind of wanted to share part of that story, because I know this is different, and some people will hate it, whatever, but for me, getting to meet somebody who's a craftsman of anything has a certain nostalgia and takes me back to, like, my childhood in wonder watching my dad work. And I still am in wonder when I go see my dad, and he'll take me out to his shop that's on his property, and he'll be like, yeah, here's my latest project, and show me some stuff. And he's like, yeah, so I had to do this and this, and oh, I had to weld this patch panel here, and this thing was completely messed up, so I had to hand form everything to get it to fit right and be exactly the way it should be, and then weld that in. And I'm like, what do you mean weld it? Because I'm looking at it, I can't see the weld lines, because he's so good. He's done it for so long. That's just like getting to see that craftsmanship and passion in other people, especially who share this hobby that I love. It's something else. And I know a lot of people in this area who have tanks made by him. I have a tank made by him downstairs that I need to get set up eventually. But, you know, it's one of those things where when you know his tanks, you can spot them a mile away. But getting to know the man behind those tanks gives me so much more appreciation for the work that he does. And this is not meant to be some advertisement. It's not paid. This is just me sharing a story, because I'm honestly in awe. And I think if you have a chance, check out Darren from Rogue Aquariums. He's got a beautiful tank. He's starting to do a multi-part series explaining the tank and what he's doing, what his plans are, how it's plumbed, and all that kind of stuff. You know, check out the Aquarist podcast. The interview with Jason is just phenomenal to, like, listen to this guy talk about his kind of journey in this business. Yeah, man, just I hope that you guys enjoyed this, my ramble about a master craftsman. If you did enjoy this, give it a little like, thumbs up, subscribe, comment on YouTube. YouTube stupid stuff. If you didn't enjoy it, thumbs down it twice, man. I'll just make more. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. And stay awesome.